But you've got playoff baseball again. And I know for you as a Met fan, it's kind of like, oh, well, of course we do. The Yankees.
I'm excited about this, though, yeah.
But this is a really good series. And I think for the Yankees, they've had some time off. It's given them time. Now, I don't know about, it's funny. I actually thought when DJ LeMahieu came back, I kind of thought he was good to go. But you did hear at the end of the season in Texas, the toe's still at 100%. And even Aaron Boone yesterday or the day before.
It's not confirmed yet, right?
No. Okay. And when asked about LeMahieu, he's like, he'll be on the roster, right? And I think the answer was, well, we'll see.
Right.
It's not yes, it's we'll see. And I know he was working out at third base. And so I like this series, though, from the standpoint of the Guardians are good. I mean, they're not a great team, but I do think that they will present a couple of challenges for the Yankees. And what will be intriguing for me, especially in game one, is going to be clearly watching Garrett Cole and how he performs. And you'd be an idiot not to recognize that. And does he give up a early home run like he seems to do almost every start? And the other thing, too, would be, how do the Yankees come out offensively tonight where you're not facing Bieber yet? You're going to get him, as it turns out. Why they're not playing tomorrow, I don't understand. They'll get him on Thursday.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a very strange schedule.
And then people were saying it's supposed to rain Thursday.
Thursday looks terrible. But who knows? I mean, that can change as well.
Right.
But you've got, this Quantrill, who I haven't seen a whole lot of this year, but he's had a good season. How does the Yankee offense perform game one? Because I think that sets the tone for the rest of the season, the rest of the series going forward. And, where are we after game one? Is it a runaway where you feel like, they're going to dispose of Cleveland very quickly? Or do you think we're in for a long series? When I look at this, I think the Yankees win the series for sure, but I don't think this is a 3-game sweep. I think Cleveland will give them, there will be moments in this series of angst, I do believe.
There are many ways to look at this, right? First of all, you go with the whole Yankee season and up and down and up and down, and now we're feeling good about the Yankees here. But the first thing is I'm excited because it's always what the Yankees about the postseason. They've built themselves as an organization to where World Series or bust, World Series or bust. So the regular season, it can be fun. And obviously this year was historic with Aaron Judge. And then the way that things went, like we said, almost giving way in that division a little bit, but then before pulling away, now everybody feels good. But this is now what it's about. Here we go. Season essentially starts. That's number one. Number two, these series, Jared, whether you saw it in the wild card series in a 3-game series, or whether you've watched it with the Yankees in recent years, it's 5 games. Like, the best hitters in the world could go into a slump for 2 or 3 games, and then what? If Aaron Judge doesn't homer in 5 games, is it, oh my God, Judge couldn't come up clutch? And that's going to be the narrative.
Yes, it would
But
be.
it's 5 games. Like, you can't, it's so weird when you evaluate 162 versus a short 5-game series. And I think even worse for the 3-game series where, anything could happen in a 3-game series. At least 5, usually the better team should prevail over the length of the 5-game series. But you're right. I mean, right out of the gate in game one, and then knowing that Bieber is looming, which is why Cleveland is dangerous, and they have a nasty closer as well. Those could be dangerous things. Plus, they have a veteran manager who knows how to win in the postseason with Francona. I think the Yankees are going to win, but is that just me with the Yankees bias not watching? I'd be lying to you if I said I watched a lot of Cleveland Guardians baseball this year. I know enough about them to know that they could be a little bit of a threat, but ultimately, this would be a disaster if the Yankees lose. I do think it's important, though, you get game one, because whether it's the offense, whether it's Garrett Cole, if you don't, and Bieber is looming in game 2, then you could be in a little bit of trouble if you're the Yankees in a short series.
And to be clear, the Yankees are the better team, and I absolutely think they will win the series as well. But it's so interesting because I had this written down for something later on at some point to discuss, probably when we were out of topics.
All right, what do we do now?
No, but the Judge thing is something I thought of too yesterday when he was speaking, and he was talking about how, the stage in Yankee Stadium, and he really has said all the right things about being a Yankee. I don't think you can look into...
You think he believes them all?
Do I think he believes them all?
Do you think a part of him is saying it just because he knows the right thing to say?
My honest opinion?
Yeah.
I think he loves being a Yankee. I think it's, and I know where he grew up, and I understand that, but I do think he loves playing here. I think he loves the attention, the success, everything about it. I think, and I don't know who his agent is, my guess is his agent has been in his ear saying you have to have an open mind. My belief is, and I don't know him,
interesting,
but just from listening to him over the past several years, as we have, I get the idea if he didn't have an agent, he would sign a great deal from the Yankees, but not necessarily go after every dollar, which I feel like. I really feel like he's being pushed in that direction. Because even if you go back to, if you go back to their offer before the season, you got to remember, part of the reason why the offer was what it was you were worried about him getting through an entire season. You were worried about the big frame, the big body. Will it hold up? He has had his share of injury issues. It's not as if he hasn't, and he's now 30.
It was never about performance.
Never about performance. It was always about, can he play the season? And I'll always come back to what I said. He bet on himself, and yes, good for him. Had he tore a hamstring or had an oblique issue this year, middle of the season, and missed 30 games, who would look right?
Right.
The Yankees would have.
Right.
So it hasn't played out in their favor financially. But I do think when you go back to that offer, I do think it was a fair offer at the time, given what could have happened injury-wise, given his age, and I think it was going to make him a very rich man. And yet I think the agent's in the head saying, hold out. You're going to make $45 million a year.
Right.
You might make, and he might make $50 a year. I have no idea what the money. See, he's going to make a lot of money.
I don't know. I think I believe a lot of what you're saying. I 100% think Judge loves being a Yankee.
I do too.
I think he wants to be here, wants to have his legacy and all that. However, I do think he also wants to get paid. And I don't buy that it's his. I mean, I'm sure his agent is saying the same thing. He wants him to get paid too, but I don't buy that it's just the agent. I think Judge wants to get the bag, as they say. And I don't know what we could get into that later. Who's going to offer him money? Will the Mets be involved? Will the Giants be involved? How much more would it take for him to leave the Yankees? And I think it's going to be a significant amount. Let's just say, for example, another team offers him $10 million more. I think he'd probably end up staying with the Yankees. It's got to be, 30, 40, potentially more than that to go elsewhere. But I do get the sense that I don't know, just a part of me, and I love Aaron Judge. I think he's a great guy. Just a part of me feels like he is saying, it's almost like he's too perfect. Nobody's
very Jeter-like, though. He really is. He always has been.
Yeah.
Never says the wrong thing. Always meets the media when he has to, good or bad, win or lose. And he's got that persona about him, like I don't want to say bigger than the game. That's not fair. But he fits into that Yankee legend mold. He just does.
Right.
And he seems like...
He's got to win now.
So now let's get back to what you just said as well, because I think it's a very interesting topic and probably not the right day to do it. But since you brought it up, I think it's a good conversation. So Aaron Judge has made the Yankees a boatload of money. And because of that, he's going to make a ton of money.
Right.
He's also been incredibly successful. He's had one of the greatest offensive seasons, great defensively too, oh, by the way, but one of the best offensive seasons I think I ever remember. And that throws into the bonds and all that crap. This year was
right,
one
even
of...
with that.
Yeah, I can make the case that is the best offensive season I've ever seen. I mean, he was unbelievable, even with struggling to hit 62 like he did, the last, whatever it was, 8-9 days of the season. Let's say, poops and giggles, they somehow don't win this series and he has a bad series. I mean, can't you make the argument, we haven't won with him?
Right. Well, that's why I think that this is an extraordinary postseason again for the Yankees, because we've not only seen Judge be the leader of the baby bombers, and now whatever they've become, this Yankees group since 2017. We also saw significant change this year in the offseason with Brian Cashman, the way he tried to balance it out a little bit more. No Gary Sanchez, no Luke Voigt. The Yankees have gotten better defensively. They play a little bit more small ball. They're better pitching, certainly now, where they're as deep going into this postseason in years past. Yeah, I mean, they got to win.
I agree.
Judge is the guy. Now, I don't know if that's going... I mean, maybe if they do lose, let's just say that they lose in the first round. You're right? They lose in the first round. And instead of them saying, hey, we got to do whatever it takes to get Aaron Judge 350, 400, whatever. I know that's ridiculous. Maybe...
Might be very real, though.
Well, maybe 350 is realistic. I'm not sure. I always do the math and think, man, 315, 320, which I always say was saying Judge should not take a penny less than 300. I think he's going to get over that now. But the question is, does he get over 350? Anyway... At some point, the Yankees got to say, hey, we were willing to go to this, but if another team's willing to go to that, and we lost with them, maybe we take that money and go elsewhere. I guess the question would be, if they lose again, and it's a big if, and we're just assuming here, and you know what happens when you assume.
Of course, and we both think they're going to win.
Correct. But if they do lose, then what? How do they go into next year, bring back Judge for, say, $350 million and say, well, we're going to be better next year? How?
You're
I mean,
right.
they're going to bring up some young guys. Who are they going to go out there and get next year? If they're not going to spend money like they didn't this last offseason when they desperately needed the shortstop, they ended up getting kind of forever. Like, are the Yankees going to spend outside of Judge? I don't know. I think it's fascinating.
I'll tell you what, if you want Judge, meaning San Francisco, or yes, dare I say it, Steve Cohen, if he wanted to make that big a splash, the number for me, 8 years, 400. Done.
Yeah, I mean, you might be looking at that.
know, because
what about 8,375? Does that get it done?
Well, to me, 8,400 is the magic number because it's 50 a year. It's a ridiculous amount, and you're going to make the money because you have him, and he's going to sell so much merchandise, so many tickets. I think that's a big deal.
You don't think he's getting more than 8 years, right? So some teams, see the Yankees.
He's 30. You're going to haven't we learned to pay? Not for nothing. Paying these guys in their late 30s to me is crazy. You want to take him to 40 and go longer than 8-9 years?
Like, let's say I think the Yankees say, okay, you wanted his number was what, 40 million, and they were like at 35 or something like that initially, and maybe they were looking at 7 years. You know, if the Yankees say we'll give you 45 million times, why can't I do this here? 45 times 8, it's 360. That's a
lot of money.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
So I think I think the Yankees might be able to get it done with 350, 360. Which for them, Jared, they offered 213.
Yeah, but again, let's come back to. But I hate going over this. But
I'm saying it's over 100 million more. They're gonna have to pay.
Correct, and this is because of the season he had, it's obviously what he's going to get. But you take it back to where we were.
I'm not saying. Look,
the whole conversation about judging the offseason is going to stay healthy.
Right, I get it, but that's kind of the point to where I'm not so sure that they're going to let one season. Nor should they be that big of a difference in how they evaluate him. They evaluated him at 213. I forget what the years were, probably 7 years.
I think it was 7.
Okay, whatever. 213. That's how they evaluated him over the long term. Now, 1 year, historic year, great year, whatever. But you can't be like, oh well, now he's worth 400 million. If they had that number before, yeah, you say, okay, well, he proved himself. He's going to make a ton of money because of it. That though big of a difference? Like, I have to believe the Yankees are like, look, we value you, we want you here. We'll go 320 or 325. Like 350 is way over.
That's a lot of money.
And to further the point, let's say they do go to 350. That might not be enough.
Well, that's where I said, if I'm one of these other teams,
you're gonna
8 for 4,
especially for the Mets.
And you'll get him.
For him to leave the Yankees for the Mets, gonna have to be 400.
And by the way, not the day to have the conversation, but you brought it up, and it was something I thought of yesterday. The conversation is the Yankees are the better team. They should win this series, and I really am hoping that we have a Yankee-Astro ALCS again. That really is what the conversation should be and will be throughout the day.
Don't you get to feel like we'll get half of that? I think the Yankees will win, and maybe the Astros. It just usually doesn't work out the way that we always want it. Oh, here's the dream matchup again. But you're right. I would love the ALCS with Yankees Stros.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.